When we talk about Nikola Tesla, the conversation usually turns to myths, rumors, and legends. He's a mad scientist, the eccentric genius who talked to aliens, the man who invented a death ray. But when you strip away the science fiction and the internet conspiracies, what you are left with is a man whose actual, documented reality is even more mind-blowing than the myth.
Come on, people. He was called man who invented 20th century. That was like a nickname of Tesla in the literature. And now we are almost sure that we can call him also a big part of 21st century.
I think so.
Especially because our today lives is built on wireless communication, and Tesla is the father of that.
In this episode, we are inside the UNESCO-recognized archives of the Nikola Tesla Museum in Belgrade. We are chatting about decoding the mind. We explore his massive archive of over 160,000 documents to uncover the secrets of his unbuilt inventions and why J.P. Morgan really pulled the funding on his mysterious Long Island project. The man behind the myth, from his fastidious habit of keeping everyday grocery receipts to the real story behind his infamous connection with pigeons, we set the record straight on who Tesla truly was and the legacy for humanity. We break down the fundamental differences between his mind and Thomas Edison's and reveal how his ultimate goal was always to give his genius to the world for free.
You're listening to the Rudderless Travel podcast, a podcast about purposeful travel, sharing inspirational stories, and unlocking a destination's secrets.
Hey, my name is Christopher Rudder, an award-winning travel content creator and expert with Rudderless Media. Belgrade, oh Belgrade. The name Belgrade actually translates to White City, which it was, until I arrived about 14 or 15 years ago. I kid. But seriously, as you may remember from the last episode, my partner, Gordana, is from former Yugoslavia. And I've been here so many times now that I have my own group of friends, like Lubin and Jagara, George, Milja, and Sunčica. Every time I arrive in town, they drop everything to come hang out with me. Let me tell you, once you have a Serbian friend, that's a friend for life. Now, I walked past the Nikola Tesla Museum a few times. I even had coffee with Amelia just down the street at Cafeteria, a hip coffee shop her brother-in-law owns. But I've never actually been inside until now. This isn't just a museum. It's practically a mausoleum. Housed inside these walls is an urn in the shape of a sphere containing Tesla's actual ashes. Surrounding him is his life's work, over 160,000 original documents, his personal clothes, his custom-made measurement instruments, and the secrets to unbuilt inventions that the world is still trying to understand. To help me decode the mind of the man who invented the 20th century, I sat down with Vladimir Perić, a curator and researcher here at the museum. So the Nikola Tesla Museum houses over about 160,000 original documents and personal belongings. Is that about right?
Yeah, it's the most important thing. It's archive. It's more than 160,000 documents, papers, photographs, and whole bunch of everything. And it's in 2003 it was named it's a UNESCO
World
Heritage Site, and it's part of archive is a memory of the world. It's the highest rank of protection by UNESCO.
Because Tesla closed his laboratories in 1929, he spent the rest of his life moving between 12 different hotels in the United States. His surviving possessions give us a fascinating window into who he really was. Pop culture loves to paint him as this crazy, antisocial hermit, but Vladimir told me the archives paint a totally different picture.
Usually, many times, Tesla was shown as a mad, crazy scientist that is always in a lab, that never socializes and that kind of things. It's not true. It's a little bit true because he did stay a lot in his lab and he did work a lot. He was sleeping like 3-4 hours and that kind of things. But the point is that his social life was really, really rich. So you have, for example, when you are looking the documents, you are looking the invitations. He was mostly wanted and welcome person in dinners organized by Group 400, the most richest in New York, for example. And he was a really, really nice guest over there. They really wanted because he was interesting person. When you look for the friends and people that he was writing letters with, for example, Mark Twain, Roosevelt, Dvorak, and etc., the people that he know in New York at that time, you see that his social life was really, really interesting. Also, you have that kind of story about little OCD of Tesla and that kind of thing that is always interesting to people. Of course, we as museologists from Nikola Tesla Museum and researchers, we don't like that kind of story about that. We said, okay, maybe not. Especially OCD was not defined in that time.
Of course.
But if you, for example, tell a story about that, okay, Sheldon Cooper is also a little bit OCD from the TV show.
It's funny to hear a historical genius compared to Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory. But Vladimir is right. People love to hyper-focus on his quirks to explain his brilliant mind. But when you look at the archives, you realize he was just a regular guy who kept his grocery receipts for orange juice and bread.
The point is, there are some kind of interesting things. When you look at the archive, you will see, for example, the receipts from a grocery store. He kept everything.
Wow.
And now we are really happy that he did that.
Yeah.
Because you have scientific work, but also you have like regular habits, everyday.
He was buying orange juice and bread like every other person.
Exactly. So that is why it's to us it's a really, really great thing that he kept everything.
I love that. The genius who dreamed up wireless energy also kept his receipts for orange juice. It humanizes him so much. But of course, while he had this rich social life, he famously never married. Vladimir explained that it wasn't because he was antisocial, it was because his mind was entirely consumed by his work. He didn't want to dedicate time to anything or anyone that would pull him away from his research.
If you want to dive deeper into this story, visit us over at rudderlesstravel.com/podcasts.
This research is sort of where things get mysterious. You see, Tesla's mind operated on a level most people couldn't possibly comprehend. If you remember from the previous episode, like his mother, he too had a photographic memory, meaning he didn't always write everything down. What specific details do the archive documents and notes disclose about Tesla's unbuilt or unpatented inventions?
That's a really difficult question because
There's so much.
yeah, there is, but it's interesting, of course. There is, for example, Long Island still stands like a mysterious project. We know a lot about the idea, what Tesla planned, and what was his theory, how it could be working. Of course, scientists still are like two sides. It cannot be done or it could be done. We never had in recent history, we didn't have any experiments like Tesla was building. Everything is just a theory. But what is interesting for us here, that for example you have that big project and really important, that's the most important project for Tesla, his biggest project, never finished, his dream. And the point is that when you look the archive for the Long Island project, if you are understanding the story and everything, you see that a lot of missing.
Mm.
And the point is that we cannot know if maybe missing something at the beginning of founding the museum and that kind of things, or what is also characteristic for Tesla, he have a lot of in his mind, and he was trying to protect his knowledge and everything, always afraid of some kind of, especially because many times he was told.
Yeah.
So he built that kind of, how to say, that kind of documentation that is not so easy to read and not so accurate. There is
called decoded, kind of like, yeah.
Something like that. Also, not like I said, for Long Island project, you really see that lots of documents are missing, or you are understanding that it should be documentation, but maybe Tesla held in his head all these informations, or they are somehow missing. One practical example you've seen in the permanent exhibition, remotely controlled boat.
Yeah.
For example, that model that you've seen there is the only one in the world for now. Nobody built something like that. It's a combined working model that shows first remotely controlled device and also the additional invention of Tesla that he put in his remotely controlled boat 2 years or 3 years after the first one, logical AND gate. Logical AND gate, like all logical gates, are cornerstone for informatics and robotics. So it is, for example, some of the inventions that is really important. What I want to say, like an example of the papers and that kind of engineers that built that boat, they are, of course, took the documentation and started working by these documents. And it didn't work. And then they are realizing, okay, maybe Tesla was put into documentation some informations to protect his inventions. So let's try with our knowledge of today to figure out how this device should be working. So they built in that kind of way and it worked. So could be interesting example how Tesla was function with his archives and documents.
That's interesting. I love that. So we don't know if he's leaving it out on purpose or because he's had some people, which we could talk about, that actually tried to steal some of his things for sure, or his ideas rather. But just quickly on the Long Island Project, that just sounds like the name of a movie. What was that? Because we talked about that in the video downstairs, and uh, someone was funding it, and then he pulled his funding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
JP Morgan.
JP Morgan, that's right,
was
yeah.
the main financier.
Yeah. So what was the purpose of that? Because I heard it in the video, but just so we can just kind of quickly.
The whole point is it's of course Tesla of course made a lot of mistakes in that moment. There are many different historical, economical, and political circumstances in that moment that make the story end like that. The point is, JP Morgan did want to be financier and gave Tesla certain really big amount of money. Usually, it's always people know that kind of story, but usually people don't know that Tesla also put all his money into that project. First really big mistake that Tesla made, usually when you get some kind of fundings, you are like owner, you are 51% owner. Tesla wanted to show appreciation to JP Morgan and gave him 51%. That's the first mistake, really important for years after.
Giving away 51% control of his greatest dream out of pure appreciation was a fatal business error. Tesla originally pitched the Wardenclyffe Tower to Morgan as a way to wirelessly send messages across the Atlantic, but he secretly wanted to use it to transmit wireless electricity to the entire world for free. When JP Morgan found out, he pulled his funding. The project collapsed, leaving Tesla completely bankrupt and triggering a severe nervous breakdown.
Really big moment happened when Marconi, we like to say, invented radio and sent signal over the Atlantic. Also, at the beginning, Tesla didn't say to Morgan that he wants his idea is to send wireless transmission of energy. He was just saying that it's a system for how he called it world wireless system of sending signals, messages, images, and music. Which sounds also interesting because now with the internet and smartphones we are doing that. But he didn't at the beginning he was keep hiding the idea of sending the energy. By the way, just to go back a little bit on Marconi, in 1943 the Supreme Court of United States decided that Tesla and that Marconi took Tesla's and two other scientists' patents to make the radio.
Wow.
And that's just stay for history. Of course, in that moment, it was before when Marconi sent that signal. That made the most important moment for JP Morgan to see that something wrong is happening there, and after that, Tesla started to open his cards and said what his plans, but from JP Morgan's side, it was just silent. So we don't have exact proof why JP Morgan stopped founding us, especially because Tesla was, it was economical moment, a little bit crisis and everything. Tesla was asking more money and that kind of things, but there was no communications. In that moment, Tesla was still very famous and got lots of rich friends, like John Jacob Astor and that kind of friends, and he could maybe got some other fundings. But let's back on this 51%. You cannot put some money into project without JP Morgan's permission. And there was just silent on other side. So in 1906, the project was stopped. And that gigantic project, when you stop that kind of project, you just go to bankrupt. Tesla got broke. Also, by some researchers, he got really serious nerve breakdown. And after that, he just trying until his death, he was trying to, of course, for example, after the Long Island project, he started working in machine engineering. Also, there are many inventions, but never something revolutionary that could give him that amount of money that he can back on that giant project.
So this might be a silly question, but what was his...
Sorry, there are no silly questions when it comes to Tesla.
Fair enough. I like that. Okay. So what was his emotional connection to pigeons? What was that all about?
Now I will say that from my personal opinion.
Sure, yeah.
The point is that I see that as like you see some old people in a park that like to feed pigeons. Of course, the point is that first biographer of Nikola Tesla, John O'Neill, he was really big influence with his writing. Of course, now many years after that biography, it's a biography from 1943 or 1942, I think 1943. Many years after that, of course, we know that there are many mistakes in that book, many maybe just a little bit romantic stories and that kind of things. But also, John O'Neill was a really strong authority because it's the only biographer that really knew Tesla, really met him.
Interesting, okay.
So the point is that he first started with that kind of a little bit romantic story about certain pigeon that is in a Tesla's room, and he's feeding that pigeon and that kind of thing. So he got some explanation that after that people took like I don't know, they put it in a really too romantic story about the relationship with the pigeon. When I read that and everything else, I just cannot see that in that kind of story. Of course, he liked. For example, he had many problems in the hotel with the hotel management because he was feeding pigeons. Because they are coming to the room and on the window and everything. So there was a lot of problems. So there was, of course, some relationship with these animals, but not in the sense that people put it from John O'Neill's book until these days.
Excellent. And that's the reason why I like that I could come to you and ask these kind of questions so we can kind of set the record straight on some things, because I mean, every single time I speak to somebody, something about pigeons always comes up. So I'm just kind of like, what is up with that? So I'm glad the way you explained it makes sense completely.
Yeah, it's usually, as you know, the world is like that. The world, especially world today, it's pretty much sensational. So it's always, for me, it's always interesting that you come to us, hear the stories about the idea of wireless transmission of energy and the giant projects that Tesla was building and everything. And then you ask me if he wears the gloves and about, okay, that Ray is a really interesting story, but come on, people. He was called man who invented 20th century. That was like a nickname of Tesla in the literature, and now we are almost sure that we can call him also a big part of 21st century.
I think so. Yeah.
Especially because our today lives is built on wireless communication, and Tesla is the father of that.
1,000%. How does the institution approach the more personal and philosophical aspects of his life, such as his views on religion?
Tesla, for example, like to said, he is a religious man, but not in traditional sense. He was always open to different ideas, and for example, he was known, and especially in that time, to researching the Far East religion and ideas and everything. He called himself, of course, Orthodox Christian, but not in a traditional sense like we have with some kind of going to the church and that kind of things. And also what is for me personally interesting when it comes to that story, I realize Tesla's vision of the universe in a mechanical sense of way. That kind of vision of universe is the same like with Leonardo. They got really, really similar brains and the type of thinking. Really, really, when you are reading a little bit more about one and the other, you will see that they are so similar that it's really interesting.
That's cool. Wow, I love that.
Travel is about the gorgeous feeling of teetering in the unknown. Anthony Bourdain.
You know, it's really wild. We have a guy who literally invented the alternating current electrical system that powers the very device you are using to listen to this podcast right now, and people want to talk about pigeons. Let's get back to the science. When Tesla first came to America, he briefly worked for Thomas Edison, and that sparked one of the most famous rivalries in scientific history.
There are different personalities.
Right.
Tesla was saying that many more years after. For example, one simple example, Tesla was doing everything in his head, and then in one moment when he realized the complete idea, then he put on the paper, on the making of that kind of things. Edison is working as a method of trying and mistaking.
Okay.
So he put, for example, there is a story about the light bulb.
Right.
The wire in the light bulb. Edison tried, I forgot the number, but it's really a big number of these wires until he succeeds to make the light bulb.
Right.
So he is doing that way. The point is, Edison already started working with single current, with the DC, with direct current. He already started in the industry of that. So of course we have to understand that he didn't want to thinking about the alternating current, because he started the electrification of United States with the direct current. The point is that George Westinghouse already started to work with alternating current. So he was searching for solution for that idea. And his attorneys, when they realized that there is a man named Tesla with the patents that they needed, of course, he came there and then buy the patents, and then they started a battle.
Mental engineering versus trial and error. Edison had the money and the fame, and he fought dirty. even publicly electrocuting animals to try and convince people that Tesla's AC current was dangerous. But you can't stop a superior idea. Tesla partnered with George Westinghouse, lit up the 1893 Chicago World's Fair, and ultimately won the ultimate prize, the contract to build the first major hydroelectric power plant at Niagara Falls.
It was 1893, and Tesla and Westinghouse light up the whole exhibition with alternating current. And that is usually told that is the moment, final battle in War of the Currents, because people saw the possibilities and better things with alternating current. And after that, they got the contract for Niagara Power Plant.
Okay, so that came before the Niagara Power Plant.
Yeah. Niagara
Interesting.
Power Plant, it's like a final moment. It's a victory of Tesla's idea, and from that moment you got electrification of America and of course whole the world. It's important because, for example, in one writing of Nikola Tesla, there is a story. He was telling the story that when he was a kid, looking some pictures of Niagara Falls in some magazines or something like that with his uncle, he said the sentence, "When I grow up, I will go there to put a big wheel on this."
Wicked.
So it's really wicked, and it's
I
really
love that.
interesting. So everything is in the story about Tesla. Everything is there.
So, what makes Tesla so incredibly fascinating isn't just what he invented, it's why he invented it. He wasn't a ruthless capitalist trying to build a monopoly. He was a visionary who saw 100 years into the future. So, before we wrap up, you said a lot of things about Tesla that which I think is really important in terms of for the better part of setting records straight and just clarifying a couple of things. But what is the thing that you want people to take away when they visit here and when they go home? What do you want people to take away from the museum and about Tesla?
There are two things. One thing, it's like we said, there are many people that don't realize the importance that Tesla had on our lives. So first thing is to realize the importance of his inventions and how they shaped our world. And we have a moment that people are much more realizing that Tesla become more and more popular, and they realize what is the importance. The second thing that is really important for us, we want to show people and to give them this idea for them to take it away. It is important for us. We call it Tesla's legacy. Tesla's legacy is not just the inventions and everything that he did, but for us it's most important how he did it. Mm-hmm. The point is that there are lots of scientists that had impact on humanity and with great inventions, but the point how he used his gift of genius to give everything to humanity. So there was not a moment of any thinking about his own good life or something like that. Of course, he lived good life because he was rich in those circles, but there was not in his thinkings, there was nothing material. Mm-hmm. But intention of Tesla is always to give everything to humanity. At the beginning of research and at the end of research.
Wow. I love that. That's beautiful. Just a bonus question. What do you think Tesla would think of all these cars being named after him?
Well, uh, well, I think it would be in some way a little bit happy because there are cars that are moving on electricity. What is interesting also about Tesla, I was dealing now these days. I had some lecture that is called the ecological thinking of Nikola Tesla, because you have let's say from the late 19th century and the beginning of 20th century, Tesla was already dealing with the questions about ecology, about preserving the planet, about finding a way of better use of energy.
Like sustainability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he was thinking about that in, let's say, 900.
Wow.
So it was really long ago, and now we have that kind of questions that are in the topic questions, and they are popular. But in 125 years ago, he was calling the usage of coal as barbaric,
Hmm.
and we are still using the coal.
Yeah.
So the point is that I think he will be a little bit happy about electrical cars, that kind of things. But I think he would be much more happy with the smart mobile phones and the network, because
right.
it's his idea.
Yes. Yeah, asking the wrong question. That's right. Of course. Oh, wow. Amazing. Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Think about that. 125 years ago, he called coal barbaric. He predicted the smartphone. He visualized the global wireless network. He gave away his patents to try to give humanity a better, more unified world. Standing in the Nikola Tesla Museum in Belgrade, looking at the very instruments he built with his own hands, you realize that he wasn't a mad scientist at all. He was just a man forced to live in the present while his brain was entirely living in the future. A huge thank you to Vladimir Perić and the museum for protecting the memory of the man who gave us the modern world. But his journey isn't over just yet. We've seen where the spark was born in Croatia, and we've seen the mind decoded in Serbia. Next time on the Rudderless Travel podcast, we're bringing it all back home. Well, my home anyways, in Ontario. We're heading to Niagara Falls, the place where Nikola Tesla threw the switch that turned on the lights for the entire planet. If you enjoyed this episode, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating, and be sure to check out the show notes or head over to rudderlesstravel.com/podcasts. I'll see you in the next episode. Stay rudderless.